Okay, welcome guys. Welcome to AdamsLand. It's the first time I am setting up a studio at home, flying solo, trying out my new webcam, my new microphone, and some new software. And so, today I wanted to discuss Disneyland Paris. I think for any of you guys that know me, you know that I recently went to Disneyland Paris with Ebony, and more specifically, we're going to be talking about 5 pros and 5 cons of going to Disneyland Paris. This will probably be slightly more geared to people that are going from the UK, so I do apologise for my US audience. But yes, I've tried to make it as applicable to anyone from the United States who's ever thinking of coming across to Europe and going to Disneyland Paris as well. So, yeah, I'm just going to see who is in the chat. Okay, so we've got Mike from Our Theme Live. Welcome, Mike, who says, be sure to smash that like button, everyone. Yes, thank you, Mike. That's really appreciated. Our Disney Adventures, hello. Pirate Princess Red, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so... sorry guys, I'm just still getting used to my software as well, so you guys were looking purely at my little screensaver there for a moment. Okay, so I'm going to try and make this quick. I don't want to go on too long tonight, but yeah, like I said, I just thought I would discuss Disneyland Paris with you guys. Usually I've got my little partner in crime, Ebony, with me, but she kind of wants to do some other stuff tonight. So she's here, she's just chilling out in the other room, so that's fine. She doesn't need to join me on every stream. But maybe the next time we do one, maybe we'll do it live from Ebony's little channel. If she, I know RobFuz tagged us in Mega Tag. So, so yeah, if you guys are new to AdamsLand, please go ahead and click the like button and subscribe if you've not subscribed already. That would be really appreciated. I've got some awesome subs, loyal subs in the community. I think I broke over 200 when we were at Disneyland Paris, but there's room for 1,000. And if you do decide to join us, final arrangements can be made at the end of the tour. Okay, so let's crack straight on with our top 5 pros and cons of Disneyland Paris. Okay, so my number 5 pro: location and locality, and I'll explain that in a moment. And then my number 5 con: the weather. Okay, so yeah, location and locality versus the weather. So yeah, obviously if you're traveling from the UK, it's somewhat easier. You know, it's an hour's flight from Manchester to go to Paris, so it's not a long haul 8 or 9 hour flight like it is to go to Orlando. Obviously you'll get a much cheaper flight if you're flying something like EasyJet or Ryanair. So you know, and there's other options as well. You can take the train, you can drive even if you want to. So obviously if you're going from the UK, location is very easy. Locality, the one thing I like about Disneyland Paris is everything's kind of together. Obviously if you go out to Walt Disney World, you know, that covers, I think it's 46 square miles, so you know, you still got to get about to get to places. Whereas in Disneyland Paris, everything's nice and together. You've got 2 parks right next door to each other. You can hop from one to the other in the space of 30 seconds. And the Disney Village is right there as well. You've got some great restaurants around there, so you don't even have to eat in the park if you want to go out to the village to go for something to eat or whatever. So I love the locality. Obviously on the flip side of the coin, the weather. Yeah, obviously if you go to Orlando, then we all know that the weather generally is great there. Obviously you can get some flash showers and stuff, which can put a dampener on your day. But yeah, the weather in Paris, we were fortunate this time. We had some good weather when we went to Paris, but I have been at Christmas time, and when it's cold, it's horrendous. So so yeah, so that is my number 5 pro and con. Disney Dan, welcome to the chat. So he says he's going live in 15. Yeah, sorry Dan, I'll try not to encroach on your time. I will try to be wrapped up by around that time if I can be. So Noah, welcome as well. Welcome to the chat, Noah. So go ahead and smash that like button, guys, if you haven't already. And let me know if you can hear me okay as well, because like I say, I'm trying out my new rig at the moment, so I want to make sure that everything's working fine for you guys. Okay, so let's head over to my number 4 Pro and Con. Okay, so my number 4 Pro is the cast members, and the Con. Sorry guys, just bear me 1 second. The language inconsistencies. Okay, so what I mean by this, okay, so the cast members, now obviously in Walt Disney World we get great cast members. They're always so happy, they're always so welcoming. They make you feel like you are in the happiest place on earth. And Disneyland Paris doesn't quite have that same reputation. I've heard from a ton of people saying that the cast members aren't quite as happy and as friendly in Disneyland Paris. Now, we just went and spent 4 amazing days there, and I've got to say that the cast members were great. And one of the things I love is that they all are bilingual. They are, you know, they know that they're not just going to have French people turn up. They'll have people from all over Europe, from Spain, from Germany, from the UK, from Italy, you know, and so they need to be bilingual. They need to be able to communicate with everybody, which I know you get that at places like Epcot and stuff as well, but obviously all over Disneyland Paris, they're all great. They're all very, very accommodating. I didn't encounter any cast members that gave me any kind of negative vibe. So yeah, I have heard some poor press about cast members in Disneyland Paris compared to, you know, Florida, but no, I thought they were very, very accommodating. They were very helpful with the information that they gave us whenever we weren't sure of anything, and they were great. So I had to put them down as one of my pros. What was my con? Language inconsistencies. Okay, so that is more to do with some of the rides and attractions. You can, or some of the shows as well. They obviously try to accommodate for everybody again, but sometimes you can go on a ride and it's purely in French, and so you're not going to understand the story. And it's fine if you've been to Walt Disney World and it's a similar ride. You kind of understand that it's, you know what's going on. You don't need to understand it, but if it's your first time, you're going to want to get the story. I know myself and Mike from Our Theme Life have spoken before and said that we like a ride with a story, you know, when it's got that it tells you that story before you ride, or it tells you that story during the ride. You know, that's one of our favorite things about Disney, and they do it so well. If you can't understand that story and they don't accommodate for other languages, and some rides did that, Star Tours for example was purely in French, then yeah, it can leave you feeling a little alienated. So yeah, there were some inconsistencies because some rides were in English, some were in French, some provided subtitles, some didn't. So I just wish they kind of balanced it all out across the board. I know they've got to accommodate for obviously several different languages in Europe. Yeah, I don't know how they would do that, but I just wish they would kind of come up with something to make it a bit easy, a bit more easily accessible for different people of different languages. So that was my number 3. Hey Avery, welcome, and sounds loud and clear. Thank you, Mike. And Pirate Princess Red. That's great. Rob, welcome as well. Guys, go and check out my partner channels as well. While I'm going to say it now before I forget, because my head's all over the place at the moment. So yeah, just make sure you go and check out my partner channels. Obviously, Mike and Jen, Our Theme Life, great guys, great content. They put out theme park vlogs and live streams all the time, especially Disney, but not just Disney. They're looking to branch out and do other theme parks as well. And obviously they've got This Theme podcast, which just started a couple of weeks ago. It's a great podcast. You can download it from iTunes, so make sure you check that out. Obviously, we all know and love RobFuz. He's the master of doing these solo lives. He does them all the time. I think I'm surprised he's not live now, but he's obviously not. He's in the chat, and I know he's been busy today. But hey, welcome, Mouse Talk. So yeah, so obviously go and check out RobFuz and Drop That Rope, and obviously Ebony's little channel. So guys, yeah, please make sure you check out the partner channels. Okay, so pro and con number 3. Okay, my number 3 pro. It's got to be mentioned. The castle, the dragon, the theming. And again, this is not to take away from any of the other Disney theme parks, but I do think Disneyland Paris has got the most beautiful castle. And in Europe, we have dragons. And it's real, obviously. It's a real dragon that they keep under the castle, because that's how we roll in Europe. So, yeah, no, I think it just adds that extra magical spark. So, yes, the dragon and the castle. And then my con is queues and conduct. Queues and conduct. So yeah, so guys, I showed you as much of the castle as I could in the live streams, and you'll see I think you may have seen it in my Paris Day 1 vlog as well. If you've not seen it, check it out. I love the castle at Disneyland Paris. I love the one in Orlando. That is probably my favourite castle, just because it feels like a homecoming whenever I see it. But the one in Disneyland Paris is by far, I think, the prettiest, and I love it when it sparkles at night time. I love the projections on it, which I know they have in Orlando as well. But then, yeah, the dragon, can't beat it. And I love some of the other theming as well. The entrance into the park, I think, is the nicest entrance when you go underneath the hotel. So yeah, just the way I thought it was very well thought out, Disneyland Paris. It's beautiful. I remember when I first went, I was apprehensive because I'd only had the Walt Disney World experience, which for me, I'm sure is probably the best experience for most people when it comes to Disney. But I think Paris is very, very well thought out. So the theming is exquisite. So sadly, queues and conduct in terms of when you're waiting in line for a ride or for an attraction, a lot of people seem to almost forget that there's lines there. A lot of the Europeans can be a little bit rude, and they try and push past you in the queue. You know, if you stop to take a photo or anything, they don't want to wait their turn. You know, wait for you to move along. It gets kind of irritating sometimes. People line up and queue for the rides much better from the UK and from the United States by far. So, but you don't tend to get many people trying to queue jump you in Orlando, whereas in Paris, it can be a bit like a free-for-all sometimes, and it's a little bit off-putting. So yeah, the conduct of people, the way they don't respect the queuing system, can be a little bit irritating in Paris. So that's one of my cons, I think, for Disneyland Paris. Just going to go back to the live chat. So yeah, Red says she loves the chat. And Mouse Talk says, I think the castle in Disneyland Paris is pretty awesome. I love the dragon part. Really cool from what I've seen. Yes, it is amazing. So yeah, thank you guys. Okay, let's just head back over to the graphics. So number 2. What have we got for number 2? Okay, my number 2 pro, and this is going to be a controversial one. Better rides. And I'm talking specifically about the classic rides. The con is the fast pass system. Okay, so better rides and the fast pass system. Okay, so let me explain that. Okay, so I think overall the rides at Walt Disney World overall are better because there's more of them. There's far more choice. But yes, let me explain the better rides thing. The classics, Space Mountain. The one in Paris is by far better than the one in Orlando. Hyperspace Mountain. It's not just your average Space Mountain, it's Hyperspace Mountain. It's more like Rock and Roller Coaster, so it's a little bit more extreme, but well thought out. I love the Star Wars theming that they brought to it now. Fantastic. Big Thunder, again, Big Thunder Mountain. Everyone that I've spoken to who's ridden both of them agrees. It's the one in Paris is far better than the one in Orlando, and therefore the one in Anaheim, because the one in Orlando and Anaheim are identical, just flipped around. So yeah, so the one, yeah, those two classic rides. Third one, Haunted Mansion, or Phantom Manor as it's known in Paris. Most people I've spoken to agree that the one in Paris seems to be the better one. Obviously the caveat of that is part of it is in French, so there's, you know, but part is in English as well, so that kind of flips back to that inconsistency thing. But all in all, Phantom Manor is amazing in Paris. I was sad that it was closed this time. and also Pirates of the Caribbean. So 4 Disney classic rides there that I can safely say are better in Paris than they are in Orlando. Now, that doesn't go for all of the rides. You know, for example, Tower of Terror is far better in Orlando than it is in Paris. But if you're looking at like 4 main classics of Disneyland, another one I could throw in there is It's a Small World. It's a Small World, the theming of that building in Paris is amazing, and the queues are always astronomical. The queues are insane, and that maybe takes me back to my last con as well. Is like the queues are, you know, for things like meet and greets, they're far better in Orlando than they are in Paris, and maybe that's because you got the fast pass system. But yeah, the queues for things like It's a Small World is insane. That takes me on to my number 2 con here, the fast pass system. It's nowhere near as good in Paris, unfortunately. There's only a limited fast pass system. You can only get 1 fast pass at a time, and then you've got to use that fast pass and wait 2 hours from your last fast pass before you can get another one. So it's nowhere near as good. Obviously, Disney World, we all know how that works. You can book three fast passes, sorry, and you know, if you book them a month or 2 in advance, you know, you can get some of the prime slots, get them all used up by lunchtime, and then you can get additional ones, you know, so you can use maybe 5 or 6 in a day, which is great. Sadly, it's not the case in Paris, and so it's not so easy to utilize that fast pass system. I think Ebony and I only used it maybe 3 or 4 times in total in the 4 days that we were there. So the fast pass system's nowhere near as good in Paris. But yes, a controversial one, better rides. I'm talking about the main classics in the Disneyland park. I would say yes, are better in Disneyland Paris. So yeah, let me just go back over to the chat. Our Theme Live says, now I have to go to Disneyland Paris just for Big Thunder. Mike, yes, yeah, and Hyperspace Mountain. It's definitely worth it. Welcome, Julia. Welcome to the chat. And Human Person. Welcome, Human Person, as well. I don't know. I think Disneyland's Small World. Oh, are you talking about Anaheim? Yeah. So then, and I will be visiting Disneyland while I'm there, so I'll be able to go give a comparison of that one then. Okay. Oh, hi Jen. Sorry, Jen. I thought it was Mike. Sorry, I just assumed. My apologies. Okay. Let's just take a look. What about single rider? Human Person says. That's a good question. Single rider we utilised at Disneyland Paris was brilliant. We used it for Ratatouille, walked straight on a couple of times in a row. Used it for quite a few of the rides actually, and yeah, single rider was great. They utilised that well in Disneyland Paris. So if you're happy to not ride together and just get on, and obviously for the first couple of days, Ebony and I were riding everything together. After that, once we discovered a few of the single rider queues, it wasn't a problem, because I think of all the single riders we did, probably 90% of them we still rode together anyway, so it was great. So yes, single rider, definitely worth doing at Disneyland Paris. Okay guys, so I'm going to move on to my number 1 pro and con of Disneyland Paris. Okay, so the pro, especially if you're going from the UK, is the cost. And the con is the cost. Now, you might be scratching your head at that one. Cost and cost. Okay, so, yeah. Now, let me explain that one. If you're going from the UK especially, it's much easier to do than going to Florida. If you're smart with it, if you're savvy, like I say, you can get a very cheap EasyJet flight for, you know, £40 or £50 if you book it, well enough in advance. So yeah, so whereas obviously if you're going long haul to Walt Disney World, then, you know, or even if you're driving down from I don't know, a state quite a ways away, you know, I dare say it's probably more expensive with your fuel costs and stuff. So you can obviously get to Disneyland Paris quite cheap, and if you're not staying on Disney property, again, you can make the holiday quite cheap. What I spent for me and Ebony to go wasn't too bad. It was, you know, it was very economy, very budget, but it meant we could have a trip this year. If I tried to do Florida, it just wouldn't have happened. However, if you're going to stay on Disneyland property, that's when the cost gets astronomical. you can go and stay on Disneyland property, especially in the Disneyland Hotel itself, where the park entrance is. And for the cost or for the price you will pay to do that, then you might as well go to Florida, and you'll have a lot longer in Florida. You'll for the UK, we go to Florida for like 2 weeks at a time generally, and so when pricing up the Disneyland Paris hotel for 4 nights, I could have had a holiday to Florida for the same price. So that's where the cost and the cost weighs up. It's yeah, if you're gonna do it savvy, you can have a great time for quite cheap, and that's the way I did it this time. If you're gonna go all out for the Disney experience, don't bother. Go to Florida, where you've got more theme parks, get more bang for your buck essentially with the 14-day ticket, and more parks to choose from. So another thing in Paris, when it comes to cost, is some of the food. I'm talking snack prices now. Some of the snack prices, just for like a bag of crisps or potato chips and a drink, are through the roof. I think I was spending over £3 for a bag of crisps or chips, like you get out in the States for maybe $1 or something like that. So yeah, it was astronomical. But yeah, like I say, if you're not going to throw your money at silly things that you don't need, then you can do Disneyland Paris for relatively cheap, and you'll have a great time. But yeah, so that's my number one pro and con, is the cost. So D&G Experience, welcome to the chat. Yeah, our theme live says, wow. Yeah, yes, it's yeah, you've got to. I think I priced up maybe 6 or 7 different versions of my holiday before I opted for the one that was worked out best for me and Ebony. I may have even done more than that. It was difficult trying to do it. At one point I was thinking, I'm not going to do this holiday because it's going to price me out. So yeah, for my American audience as well, the cost of you guys coming over to Europe, and I've said this to a few people already, like a lot of people, obviously, since we live streamed and have vlogged Paris, a lot of people said, wow, I really want to go to Disneyland Paris. By all means, I recommend doing it, but don't just come across to Europe for Disneyland Paris. Come across to Europe to go and see Europe, and do Disneyland Paris while you're there. Because if you're coming just for Disney, it's going to be a short and very, very expensive trip when you've done a long haul flight. So again, that would be the con side of the cost. So yeah, that's something to take into consideration. So yeah, so just to recap, guys. So my top 5 pros of Disneyland Paris: location and locality. Obviously, location, if you're flying out from the UK, it makes it really easy and you've got options. Locality, I love how everything in Disneyland Paris is right next to each other, literally tripping over each other. You don't have to travel between different places, so it's great. Literally, you can leave one park that closes at 8 p.m. and you're in the next park within 30 seconds, so that's great. The cast members, after getting a bit of bad rep before I went out there, I thought the cast members did a spot-on job. Obviously, you get fantastic cast members everywhere in Disney World as well, so that's not a comparison. I'm not saying the cast members in Paris are better than the ones in Florida. Not all. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, I read a few negative things about Disneyland Paris cast members, and none of it was. It was all unfounded when I was there. So number 3, the castle, the dragon, the theming. Love that castle. Love that European dragon. Love that Disney dragon. Yeah, no, it's fantastic, and the theming as well, I think, is very well thought out in Paris. Number 2, controversial one, better rides, and I'm talking purely the Disneyland classics: Space Mountain, Big Thunder Mountain, Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion or / Phantom Manor as it's known, and Small World. I think are far better in Disneyland Paris. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm more of a Disney World fan in Florida, but those rides, I would safely say, are better. And yeah, cost, or for budgeting, if you're doing it budgeting, that's my top pro for going to Disneyland Paris. My cons: the weather. If you're going to go in winter, be prepared to be freezing. It's Baltic. I went at Christmas, it was magical, but I didn't enjoy it so much because I just wanted to go somewhere warm. So be prepared for that if you come across in winter. Language inconsistencies on some of the attractions. You won't get everything in your native tongue, so be prepared for that. Sometimes you'll get subtitles or things that will aid you, but not everywhere. So if it's your first time riding a particular attraction or seeing a particular show, be prepared for that. Number 3, queues and conduct. People don't seem to queue well in France. They don't line up the way they should do. They think they're entitled to be ahead of you in the queue, so be prepared to fight for your place in that line. Not literally, I don't condone fighting in a Disneyland park, but you know what I mean. Be prepared to stand your ground. The fast pass system, not as good as Disney World. I don't think Anaheim has as good a fast pass system as far as I'm aware either. So yeah, and then number 1, cost. If you're going to go all out for the Disneyland experience, like with the Disneyland Hotel and stuff, be prepared to pay through the nose. And my advice would be, don't bother. Just if you're going to spend that much money, go to Florida and have more Disney fun with more parks and water parks and stuff like that. But yeah, like I say, on the flip side, if you can do it on a budget, do so. Okay, guys. So I shopped trip flight prices this summer from West USA. Stayed in Paris. Brilliant. Loved this incredible city and experience. I went to Disneyland Paris during Food and Wine Fest. Oh my, cool. I hope you had a great time. That is from Seguero 22. So yeah, my favourite Pirates is in Shanghai. Second is Tokyo because they still have the redhead and stayed the same since the 80s. That's interesting, Avery. Unfortunately, obviously, I can't compare the Asian parks yet. I've not been to any of them. That is on the bucket list one day. Captain Akron says, the camera looks nice. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, I literally got this yesterday, so I wanted to do a live. It's far better than using my phone, which goes blurry and stuff from time to time. So, yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I'd love to go to the Asian parks, Avery, so that is on the bucket list to do someday. Okay, guys, so I'm going to bring this stream to a close in a moment. Once again, don't forget to click like button, that would be really appreciated, and subscribe if you haven't already done so, if you're new to the channel. I've got some more Disneyland Paris vlogs to come in the coming days and weeks, and our Disney World attraction brackets are still yet to be completed and be released. So yeah, please check them out. Don't forget to check out my partner channels, like I was saying before. So once again, Our Themed Life, Mike and Jen, great guys, great content, great vlogs, great live streams that they do. And also check out This Themed Podcast, which you can download on iTunes, and they live stream onto YouTube as well when they do it. So yeah, check out Our Themed Life because they do some awesome content. Check out RobFuz and Drop That Rope. Rob, I do a lot of hangouts with. We do pub talk, we do other hangouts. We talk about everything from Disney World and Disneyland and Disney Adventures to movies, to yeah, we just talk about everything, anything and everything. So, and we hang out with some great people. Again, the guys from Our Themed Life, we've done hangouts and pub talks with. Disney Dan, we've hung out with Brandon Prodigy Smash, and a few others as well. So yeah, make sure you check out. Oh, Caesar as well. I can't forget Caesar. So make sure you check out RobFuz, Drop That Rope, and then of course check out Ebony, my daughter, Ebony's little channel, and of course Resort TV1, who Ebony and I live streamed for. We had a great time in Paris live streaming for them. So yeah, I think that is it, guys. So I'm going to bring this to a close. So I want to thank everyone for popping in. So yeah, I just D&G Experience says, have a great night. So Our Theme Life says, thanks for the plug on our podcast. You know, you're welcome, Jen. That's not a problem at all. Poet Princess Red says, have a great night, Adam. See you real soon. Very informative stream. Thanks for sharing this. You're welcome. I wanted to do this as soon as I got back from Paris because it was one of those things that I was weighing up when I got back. You know, just some of the striking differences that I noticed. I mean, even Paris. Another inconsistency I noticed in Paris was, and I think I said this during my live stream as well, or during one of my vlogs, is like in the Disneyland park, it feels more like when you're in Orlando when it comes to vlogging and streaming and stuff. You know, they're very receptive of it. The cast members are waving and happy. In the Walt Disney Studios park right next door, They don't want you to vlog on any rides. They don't want you to live stream. Like one of the felt very different. It was like hopping from Disney to Universal Studios, and these are two parks right next door. So there was another inconsistency that I wasn't sure about. Don't get me wrong, I still managed to live stream in Walt Disney Studios, and we still had a great time. But yeah, it's just there was just a few things that I noticed there, and I wanted to talk about. So when I got back to the UK, I thought I'm going to do a live at some point and just discuss the pros and cons, because it is a slightly different experience. I don't say any of it negatively, because we had a fantastic time, and I was sad to come home. I would have loved another day or two, but obviously you got to come home sometime. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys, because I know there was a lot of interest around Disneyland Paris, because obviously many of my subscribers are stateside and have never had the chance to come across. I hope you guys are able to one day, because I'm sure you guys will love it. There's just be prepared for a few differences, some good, some not so good, and so that's why I wanted to share this with you guys and let you know what I think are the pros and cons of it. So yeah, so that's it. I'm gonna wrap this up now, guys. So thanks for stopping by. Be sure to check out the partner channels. Stay tuned for the vlogs that are still coming. I think Ebony's and my day 2 will probably come out tomorrow, so stay tuned for those. And yeah, just keep your hands and arms inside this video until it comes to a complete stop. When you leave, remember to take small ones by the hand. And thanks for coming along, guys. It's appreciated. I will see you guys soon. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.